Greetings. My name is Beryl Armstrong, licensed clinical professional counselor. I come to you with over 10 years of experience in the counseling field. I come from various backgrounds in regards to social services, addiction, as well as trauma. Today, we're going to talk about navigating through grief and loss. So, our objectives today will be to recognize the difference between grieving and mourning, to understand the impact of avoidance on grieving, and tips for managing grief and loss. I want to share with you this quote from Helen Keller. We bereaved are not alone. We belong to the largest company in all the world, the company of those who have known suffering. In the wake of the pandemic, many people have lost their lives, and I had the privilege to support many family members that lost not only one, but multiple loved ones. Grief and loss is truly an area of suffering that we cannot give enough attention to. So let's talk about some definitions. What is bereavement? Bereavement refers to the experience of the loss of someone through death. And loss refers to no longer having somebody or something. There are various types of losses. We experience some of the common ones, such as death or divorce. Or what about when a business fails? What about when we lose our faith? And that can happen for various different reasons. What about financial losses? What about losing a home? During the pandemic, many people lost their homes because they could not afford to pay their mortgage because the world shut down. They were not able to work. And the world was not ready to deal with people working from home on such a grand scale. So many people experience loss of financial security. They experience a loss of jobs, a loss of security, loss of even some independence because they had to even move in with family members or other loved ones because they had lost their home. Many of them struggle with mental challenges, the anxiety of being locked in at home, and the depression of being separated from loved ones. Also, people experience loss of a pet when a pet dies. I remember my first dog that I ever had. I got him when I was in grammar school, and he died the first year I went to college. That was my favorite pet. I mean, he went everywhere with me. I trained them. When I was sick, he would come and kind of comfort me. He was really my emotional support animal. And when he died, it was such a tragic loss for me. I was devastated. Also, we can experience loss in physical health, such as COVID, but also what about cancer? Or what about diabetes when people lose limbs due to diabetes? Those are also losses. What about when you lose your plans, your hopes, and your dreams because something happened and for whatever reason you don't see the viability or the ability to move forward in those plans, hopes, or dreams? What about loss of relationships? What about loss of your role in life? I remember when my mother was ailing and they had diagnosed her with a terminal illness. It was almost like her role as being the matriarch of our family became diminished because she was not able to function at that same capacity. And she always say, I'm just not the person that I used to be. I can't do the things that I used to do. And so she didn't feel like she was even herself. What about losing a sense of safety and security? There's a lot that's going on in the world. In many areas of the United States, there's a lot of violence. So people have lost a sense of safety. And what about a sense of status? It could be social economic status, it could be citizenship status. And what about a loss of treasured possessions where you may lose it by theft or by fire? Grieving versus mourning. Let's talk about that a little bit more. So, grief is that internal response to bereavement. It includes a variety of psychological and physiological symptoms that evolve over time. But then it includes that sadness, that longing to be with the person that you lost, thoughts and memories of that person. It includes anxiety. It also includes anger. I can say that for a lot of people when they grieve, it's an internal thing because it's something that takes place on the inside, in our mind and in our heart. And even though sometimes we can see the grief on the outside, but it's not always as fully expressed. But mourning is best defined as an act of outward expression of grief. So mourning is when we actually began to show those feelings and express those feelings. And they're usually in public. Mourning are acts or behaviors that show the sadness, show the hurt, show the loss, show the longing. And it could come and manifest in a variety of ways. Sometimes people cry, sometimes people yell, sometimes people throw things, tear things up. Sometimes people walk away or run away. It's so many different ways that mourning can be expressed. But I think that we need to know that there is a difference. I know a lot of times people use grief and mourning interchangeably, but they really are different. I use a metaphor. I say that um, that grief is like this lotion bottle. Grief is the lotion that's on the inside. But then when I push the button, then the lotion comes out. And that's what we call mourning when it comes out. Avoidance coping versus taking a break. And this is so important for us to understand. The first is a hindrance to healthy grieving, while the latter is a requisite. And what do we mean, a hindrance? So, avoidance coping basically means that you're avoiding dealing with what we consider negative feelings in regards to the loss. You avoid feeling the stress, the sadness, the anger, the anxiety, any feeling that's related to the loss. So when people experience loss, it is a mental thing, it is an intellectual thing because you are thinking about who you lost. It doesn't go away at the end of the services when we memorialize our loved ones. The thoughts continue to linger because now we have to adjust to a world that they are no longer in. And so we began to think about um, what would have been, what could have been. But we want to avoid those thoughts because they make us feel uncomfortable on the inside. They bring up what the world terms as negative emotions, the sadness, the anger, even the fear of being alone. So many negative feelings. And so, what we try to do is we try to avoid it. Sometimes we say, I stay so busy to keep myself from thinking, or I keep moving because once I stop, I'm going to be in my thoughts or I'm going to be in my feelings. Well, that's avoidance. And what it does is it hinders your ability to heal, to move forward. But then sometimes we do need to take a break. We need to allow our mind and our body a break from dealing with the complicated thoughts and feelings that come with loss. And that's okay. But I guess the question is, how do I determine if I'm avoiding or if I'm taking a break? So that's quite easy. Are you saying to yourself, oh, I need to keep busy so I won't think about it? I need to keep moving because I'll be in my feelings? Or are you consciously trying to take some time to process your feelings? But then you say, you know what, today I'm going to take a break. I'm going to do something that's fun. I'm going to do something that makes me feel good. That's the difference. You're allowing yourself, your nervous system to reset itself. You're allowing yourself to rebuild, to replenish and restore so that you can continue along the healing process. So, let's talk a little bit about the grief process. Grieving is a part of a human experience. All of us have or will experience grief. We're going to experience the loss of a loved one, even though we don't want to. The grieving experience is a long and windy path that curves back on itself. It transverses through hills and valleys and has many obstacles. And I guess you say, man, that makes it seem like it's a really long process. And it can be. It depends upon the nature of the relationship. How close were you to the loved one that you lost? Or were they a parent? Were they a child? Were they a sibling? Were they a spouse? Were they a first cousin? Were they your best friend? Were they a coworker? Was it the neighbor next door? It all depends on the nature of the relationship. But no matter the nature of the relationship, grief has a process. And so, what we're trying to do today is to empower you and to encourage you to embrace the process. In this path, this process, it's a path that's challenging to negotiate. It is time consuming to travel along, but it provides rich opportunities for both personal and spiritual growth. I had a client of mine that lost their husband, and they had been married for over 50 years. And when you have a couple that's been together that long, they've been longer together than they've been apart. And when her husband passed, she was devastated. And she reached out. She did a lot of things. She reached out for grief groups, and then she did individual counseling. But the 2 years later, she said, I still feel as if I'm grieving. How long will this take? And she wasn't avoiding, she was actually embracing it. She would take her breaks, she would go on trips, she would visit the grandkids, she would do a lot of different things. But she was missing her partner who was supposed to have been there for life. So it is a process and it can be challenging, but don't give up. I know your loved one wouldn't want you to. So, how do we navigate through the grief and the loss? Tip number one, give yourself permission to grieve. A lot of times, we're so busy avoiding, we don't want to give ourselves permission to grieve. And how about this? How about understanding that we have a need for comfort? We have a need for comfort. We have been lost. We have had experienced a loss. There is a void. There's a hole in our soul that has been created because of this loss. And so as a result of that, it not only needs to be filled, but also we need to admit that we need help filling it. We need comfort. We need support. And we need to be open to receiving and accepting it. And for many, being open to receiving and accepting it is very difficult, especially if you're the one that's always doing the giving. Then receiving may be very difficult for you. But look, this is an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for all the giving that you have given for someone to give back to you in your time of need. So give yourself permission to grieve and take the steps that you need to find that comfort. Don't be afraid to reach out. Needing help and support is not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it takes great strength to ask for help when you need it. But the thing is, you got to realize that you need it. Tip number two, celebrate and honor. So a lot of times, there's these different rituals that have come about when people have experienced loss, and it's maybe the anniversary of the birthday, anniversary of the death of their loved one, and the birthday or things like that. And so people come together, they celebrate, they do balloon releases, um, sometimes they blow bubbles and do all different kinds of things to honor their loved one that they lost. So I want to encourage you to do the same. Take some time to celebrate the life that they live. Celebrate what they meant to you. It is part of the healing process. You're going to experience anniversary grief. You're going to experience grief on their birthdays and significant holidays that you all enjoy together. I didn't realize and fully understand anniversary grief until I lost my father some 30 something. Oops, I'm dating myself. Some years ago. Um, when it came to the first year of his anniversary, I didn't understand what was going on with me. And it wasn't like I really had it in my mind, but it was like almost like a body memory. I became very sad and depressed, very withdrawn. And it wasn't until I realized that I was approaching the anniversary of my father's death. Because you see, I was a daddy's girl. I love my father. But it took a minute for me to get beyond those anniversaries and Father's Day and his birthday and Christmas because those were significant dates that we shared. But instead of dwelling on him not being here, I turned it into a celebration and I tried to celebrate him. I would go to his favorite restaurant or I would cook his favorite meal and I would eat and go to those places in honor of him. Tip number two, learn to celebrate and honor your loved one. Tip number three, be real with what you feel. So sometimes we need to check in with ourselves. Okay, so today, how am I feeling? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling okay? Am I happy? Am I angry? What's going on? What am I thinking about that's causing me to experience these feelings? And then with these feelings, how am I acting them out in my body? What am I doing? What am I showing my family members and other people that are looking at me? Am I showing them that I'm healing? Am I going through the process? Or do they see something else? Well, not to focus so much on what other people are thinking, but what about what you are thinking? What about what you are feeling? What about what you are experiencing? Be real with what you feel. If you're sad, you're sad. If you're mad, you're mad. If you're lonely, if you're longing, you are lonely and you are longing. It's it's being authentic, it's being genuine, it's being transparent with yourself. Don't be afraid of the sad, angry, mad, anxious feelings. We all feel them. But I promise you, feelings do come and go. They can be like a wave or they can be like a cloud. It just depends. But nothing lasts forever, not even our feelings. Be real with what you feel. The tip number four, engage in daily self care. Take some time, get your notebook, journal your grief experience, your grief process. Take some time, get you a nice cup of tea or your favorite coffee. Cuddle up with a good book. Take some time for you. Don't throw yourself into things to get busy that causes you to avoid. Take some time to embrace the new you, who you are becoming, who you are evolving into as a result of going through this healing process. Go get a massage, go get a pedicure, manicure, go get your hair cut. Do something for you. I mean, go buy yourself a new pair of shoes, not too expensive, no red bottoms, but, you know, take some time to indulge yourself just a little bit, just to remind yourself that you do matter to you. And I think sometimes we get lost, especially I can say for women and helpers. We're so busy taking care of everyone else that we forget that we need to take care of ourselves. I recall having a client that was a mom that had 6 kids, and she lost her son, one of her sons, to suicide. And her way of dealing with it was her making sure that her other 5 kids were okay, that her husband was okay. But on the inside, she was a wreck. And it wasn't until she decided to say, look, I am going to reach out for some additional support. Because while I'm giving to everybody else in my household, when it comes to me, I have nothing left for myself. And that's why tip number 4 is so important. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You need to take some time to fill yourself up. Do the things that make you feel whole. Do the things that make you feel healthy. Do some things that make you feel happy. Engage in daily self care. Not once a month, not once a week, but every day you should do something to pour into yourself, to care for yourself, to make yourself a priority. And tip number 5, be patient with yourself. I love this Joyce Meyer's quote. Patience is not the ability to wait, but the ability to keep a good attitude while waiting. As we mentioned before, the grief process is a process. And it can be long for some and shorter for others. But no matter how long it is, because length is a determination based on the perception of the person that's going through it. But no matter how long the process is, be patient with yourself. You may have some good moments where you're up, and then may have some moments when you're down. But when you get down, don't look at it as a setback. Don't look at it as if you're back to square one. No, you're just having a down moment. Just like you were up, you came down. And guess what? You will be able to go up again. Be patient with yourself. Have a good attitude and the right perspective of the process. Embrace the process. Remember that path, it winds, it has valleys, it has different traverses, it has obstacles. But no matter what, you can get through it. But you got to remember to be patient with yourself. And then tip number 6, seek support. There are many grief share groups that you can get involved with. And since the pandemic, a lot of things are still Zoom if you want to do Zoom, or go someplace where you can meet in person. Also, seek out individual counseling. If you find that you're really struggling and maybe you have a tendency or have found yourself stuck and you just need some help getting out to get moving again. Again, support. You have to remember that you have to admit that you need comfort, and you have to be open and receptive to receiving it. Take steps to find the comfort and the support you need. That is such a vital part of self care as you are navigating the grief and loss process. Tip number 7, embrace the new. Lao Tzu said new beginnings are often distinguished or disguised as painful endings. So, whenever there's the end of a chapter, there's also the beginning of a new one. And so, yes, we have lost loved ones, but it is not the end for us. It is a new beginning. And as difficult as it may be to embrace new and move forward without your loved one, I'm sure that you would agree most times they would want you to move on and to live your life, to not be stuck on what was or what could have been or anything else. So try to add something new to your life as often as you can, a new hobby, a new interest, a new class, new friends, new adventures. Try to add something new so that you can embrace the new that is yet before you. And then the final thought, I want you to remember that it is okay to not be okay. Because you're going to have some of those days. You're going to have some days where you're going to say, well, I'm good today. Hey, I'm good. But then you're going to have some of those days when it feels like the weight of the loss is like a 10-pound weight sitting on your chest, and you're not going to be okay. And it's going to be hard to even verbalize that you're not okay. But even in those moments, you need to be okay with not being okay. It's all a part of facing your feelings and accepting the fact that you are human and you have the power to feel. And sometimes it hurts, but it's okay. You will get through it and you will make it to a new day. Thank you for sharing. Be well and take care.